All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our monthly meeting of the Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals. And as is our custom at this time, I'd like to introduce you to Officer Kevin Mallory. Kevin is a representative of the Cobb County Police Department. If we'd all please rise, Kevin will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Officer Mallory. For those of you that are here for the first time, let me give you a little insight on how we're going to conduct the meeting today. The first thing that we will concern ourselves with is the consent agenda. These are applications that not only this board has reviewed, but our professional, our engineering staff have also reviewed, and our zoning staff has reviewed. To our knowledge, there's no known opposition to any of these particular cases, so the way we will proceed is Mr. John Peterson, our head zoning administrator, will read these into the record. As he does, the applicant, he or she, will raise their hand to identify themselves. And at that time, we'll ask for any opposition. If there is any opposition to any of these particular cases, they will identify themselves. And if we do have any opposition, we will pull that case and hear it in its regular numeric order. Once we complete that, we will go into our regular agenda. Again, Mr. Peterson will read these into the record. Again, the applicant will identify themselves. Likewise, if there's anybody here in opposition, they will identify themselves. Our officer of the day is Ms. Kim Wakefield. Ms. Wakefield will call all those that are going to give testimony to come forward. Ms. Wakefield will swear you in. Once that's complete, the applicant, he or she, will have a 10-minute period to make their presentation to this board, and all presentations will be given to the podium to my right. Likewise, and collectively, those in opposition will have a 10-minute period to make their opposition known to this board. So if you have more than one speaker, just be cognizant of the fact that you only have a 10-minute period. With that said, Mr. Peterson, I'm going to ask you if you have any special comments or any other directions you'd like to give the audience today.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, thank you. There are two cases on today's agenda which have been withdrawn and will not be heard today. First case is V122 of 2014, TP Kennesaw LLC. That case has been withdrawn and will not be heard today. Also, variance case V17, Deanna S. Vasquez. That case has been withdrawn and will not be heard today. Mr. Chairman and Board, there is one case on today's agenda which was continued by the staff and will not be heard today. That's variance case V3, Total Imaging. That case was continued by the staff until the February 11th variance hearing. I would like to ask the people in today's audience to please turn your cell phones off if you have a cell phone. When they ring, they do interfere with the broadcast and presentations. So if you have a cell phone, please put it on silent mode. Additionally, the following announcement concerns variance applications requesting backyard chickens relating to the official code of Cobb County, Chapter 134-94-4, adopted by the Board of Commissioners on February 26, 2013. Applicants are advised that variance applications requesting backyard chickens which are approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals take the form of a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners, who makes the final determination whether to grant the special exception for the backyard chickens. There is one case on today's agenda which this applies, which is variance case V8, Ariel Scott. The applicant is instructed that if the Board of Zoning Appeals approves this application, that a representative would need to be present at the Board of Commissioners zoning hearing on Tuesday, February 17, 2015. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to start the consent agenda.
Okay, let's just jump right into the consent agenda, John.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals variance hearing consent agenda for January 14, 2015. Variance case V110 of 2014. Cecilia Diaz requests a variance to waive the side setback from required 10 feet to 1.6 feet adjacent to the north property line in land lot 154 of the 17th District. The property is located on the west side of Oak Haven Drive, south of Privet Road. The staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to for the encroachment shown on the site plan received September 9th, 2014, and project to be be re-permitted, subject to development inspections approval. Is the applicant present?
Yes, she is.
Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V110? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V123 of 2014, William A. Sharon Jr. requested variance to waive the front setback from required 35 feet to 29 feet in land lot 831 of the 16th District. The property is located on the north side of Penhurst Drive, east of Bradbury Drive. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V123? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V1, Martin Rodriguez requests a variance to waive the front setback from required 35 feet to 29.64 feet in land lot 623 of the 19th District. The property is located on the west side of Bayberry Drive, south of Bufferty Drive. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the encroachment shown on the site plan received October 13th, 2014. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case V1? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V2, Patricia S. Medlin requests a variance to waive the minimum public road frontage from required 75 feet to 26.75 feet, to waive the setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for a framed accessory building with lean-to with shed from required 100 feet to 34.1 feet adjacent to the eastern property line in land lot 38 of the 18th District. The property is located on the north side of Whispering Pine Circle, east of Whispering Pines Road, and at the western terminus of Pine Valley Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to the encroachment shown on the site plan received November 11th, 2014. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V2? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V4, Anita Whalen requests a variance to waive the rear setback from required 30 feet to 20 feet in land lot 305 of the 16th District. The property is located on the southwest corner of Tulip Tree Road and Tulip Tree Court. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the encroachment as shown on the site plan received October 28th, 2014. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V4? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V5, Carlton Engelbert requests a variance to waive the rear setback from required 30 feet to 20 feet in land lot 843 of the 16th District. The property is located on the south side of Woodthrush Way, east of Kinglet Lane. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the encroachments as shown on the site plan received October 28, 2014, and Stormwater Management Division comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V5? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V6, Mitchell and Marla Johnson request a variance to waive the rear setback from required 40 feet to 35 feet in land lot 71 of the 1st District. The property is located on the south side of Declare Way, east of Marcel's Place. Staff recommends approval of the variance subject to the encroachments as shown on the site plan received October 29, 2014. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V6? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V7, Billy Daniel and Mary Lou Caron request a variance to allow an accessory structure, a 577 square foot carport awning, to be to the front of the principal building, waive the front setback for an accessory structure over 144 square feet for the 577 square foot carport awning from required 50 feet to 34.5 feet, waive the side setback for an accessory structure over 144 square feet for the 577 square foot carport awning for required 10 feet to 5.5 feet adjacent to the eastern property line, and to waive the minimum lot size from required 20,000 square feet to 19,978 square feet in land lot 1138 of the 19th District. The property is located on the north side of Clay Road, east of Flint Hill Road. Staff recommends approval of the variance subject to the encroachments as shown on the site plan received October 31st, 2014. The applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V7? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V10, Michael Lengang requests a variance to waive the requirement that a sign be located 42 feet from the center line of the right-of-way to 25 feet from the center line of the right-of-way, to allow a sign to be located closer than 1 foot behind the public right-of-way, and to waive the side yard setback for a sign from required 15 feet to 1 foot adjacent to the north property line in land lot 963 of the 16th district. The property is located on the east side of Tallow Trail, south of Roswell Road. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the sign to be on a timer for lighting, with lighting allowed between the hours of 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V10? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V11, Lonnie A. Bacon requests a variance to waive the front setback from required 25 feet to 20 feet, waive the side setback from required 10 feet to 9.7 feet, adjacent to the northern property line in land lot 543 of the 16th district. The property is located on the west side of Ashley Terrace, east of Hartwood Drive. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the encroachments as shown on the site plan received November 11, 2014. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V11? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V12, John D. Kressler requests a variance to waive the front setback from required 20 feet to 13 feet, allow an accessory structure, a 30-square-foot plastic shed, to be to the side of the principal structure, waive the rear setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for a proposed 968-square-foot two-story garage from required 100 feet to 2.5 feet, waive the side setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for a proposed 968-square-foot two-story garage from required 100 feet to 2.5 feet adjacent to the western property line, and to waive the maximum impervious surface from required 40% to 54.42% in land lots 893 and 901 of the 17th district. The property is located on the west side of Vinings Oak Drive, east of Log Cabin Drive. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the encroachments as shown on the site plan received November 20th, 2014. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V12? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V13, Kevin and Whitney Manning request a variance to waive the rear setback from required 30 feet to 20 feet, waive the side setback from required 5 feet to 1.3 feet adjacent to the eastern property line, and to waive the maximum allowable impervious surface from required 45% to 70.9% in land lot 907 of the 17th district. The property is located on the north side of Courtyard Drive, south of Kingsland Court. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the encroachments as shown on the site plan received November 26, 2014, and development and inspections comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V13? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V14, Scott Crosby requests a variance to allow an accessory structure, a 480-square-foot proposed garage, to the side of the principal building in land lot 327 of the 20th district. The property is located on the east side of Battlefield Creek Drive, north of Dallas Highway. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the encroachments as shown on the site plan received November 20th, 2014, and no business or living use in the accessory structure. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V14? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V15, T. Wayne Davis requests a variance to waive the minor side setback from required 10 feet to 9 feet adjacent to the southern property line, to waive the major side setback from required 35 feet to 34.81 feet adjacent to the northern property line, and to waive the maximum allowable impervious surface from 35% to 35.48% in land lot 681 of the 16th district. The property is located on the west side of Chelsea Landing Way, south of Chelsea Lane, and east of Johnson Ferry Road. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the encroachments as shown on the site plan received November 13th, 2014, and development and inspections comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V15? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V19, Greg and Joanne Hammermaster request a variance to waive the rear setback for an accessory structure under 144 square feet for an existing 30-square-foot fireplace from required 5 feet to 0 feet, allow an accessory structure, proposed approximately 240 square foot pergola to be to the side of the principal building, waive the required rear setback for an accessory structure over 144 square feet for an approximately 200 square foot frame shed from required 40 feet to 3 feet, and to waive the rear setback from the required 40 feet to 12 feet in land lots 1091 and 1092 of the 17th District. Their property is located at the northeastern bend of Glen Eagle Circle, east of Pine Valley Road. Staff recommends approval of the variance, subject to the color of the shed to match the existing house, approval of the existing shed only, and no business or living use of the accessory building. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V19? Let the record show there's no one opposed to that variance, Mr. Chairman, and that completes the consent agenda.
Very good. We didn't have any opposition at all. All right, it's back to this board for discussion. At this time, is there any comments, questions, or Ms. Swanson?
Mr. Peterson, on V12, could I also have on the detached garage, could we put no business or living, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Other comments? Not hearing any, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented with the amendment by Ms. Swanson.
Okay, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second to Mr. Gunther. Any other comments? Not hearing any, not seeing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, Madam Secretary, that carries for approval 5-0. If now, those of you that were on the consent agenda, your business is complete with us today. You're welcome to stay or you're welcome to leave. If you leave, please leave quietly, how we can continue on with our business. So with that, take care, have a nice day. Ma'am, you have your hand raised. If you come up and see Mr. Peterson, we'll give us a couple of seconds for everybody to leave. Thank you, have a nice day, drive home carefully.
Is that more than usual in terms of the consent? Is it?
First time we've had that many and never had it before.
We didn't have any opposition, yeah. Very nice.
It's the cold, huh?
A lot of these were cleanups though, especially in
I was thinking maybe on V19 there might be some opposition.
John, were you able to help that wayward citizen?
Yes.
Okay, very good. John, where are we? What's our next course of business?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Moving into the regular case agenda, variance case V8, Ariel Scott, request a variance to have an authorization upon appeal related to the minimum lot size of 2 acres required to maintain poultry as pets or food sources, to waive the rear setback from required for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for an approximately 221 square foot frame shed number 1 from required 30 feet to 5 feet, and to waive the side setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for an approximately 221 square foot frame shed number 1 from required 10 feet to 3 feet adjacent to the western property line in land lot 270 of the 17th District. The property is located on the north side of Norton Circle, east of Big Run Avenue. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V8? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
All right, ma'am, for the purpose of the record, if you would, please give us your name first.
My name is Ariel Scott.
Okay, tell us what you want, ma'am.
I'm applying for a variance to keep chickens in my backyard for the purpose of keeping them as pets as well as for eggs.
All right, explain a little bit more what you plan to do, how many, where you're gonna put them.
So my lot size allows for the maximum of 2 chickens, and those would be hens. I understand that I cannot keep any roosters. Other requirements, a fenced backyard. The the entire lot of, the entire area of the backyard has been fenced for several years already, and it has been maintained. As for the requirement, I understand that I have to keep the coop for housing the chickens 10 feet from the house, as well as from any and all property lines, as well as fencing. For the neighbor consent, there was only 2 adjacent property owners I was not able to contact in time for the hearing. Of those, I was able to get a signature that they offered their consent for me to keep the 2 chickens. For the health concerns, any and all waste I would be composting, and there wouldn't be a chance of runoff. As for other health concerns, it is my understanding that the state of Georgia has a poultry lab located in Oakwood and Tifton, so in the event any of the chickens were to become sick or exhibit signs of illness, I would take them there for diagnostic testing.
Anything else you'd like to tell us?
Not at this time.
All right, for the purpose of the record, is there anybody here in opposition to case V8? Hearing and not seeing anybody, it's back to this board for discussion. I represent this district, so I'll start the discussion. Ariel, are you the property owner?
I'm my mother is Ann Humbordes, the property owner. I'm her daughter.
Okay, how long have you lived in the house?
We have lived in that house for over 13 years.
Okay. Ariel, I have received a copy of the code enforcement's case file on that particular house that goes back a number of years. Actually, since '07, they've had numerous or different complaints starting in '07. I'd like to ask a couple of questions. At this time, do you have any chickens on the property now?
Yes, I do.
How many do you have?
I have 2.
Okay, and how about ducks? Do you have any ducks on the property?
There are 3 Muscovies that occasionally stay in my backyard.
Are they yours? Do you feed them? Okay. And how long have they been in your backyard?
Just a year.
All right. The other question is, at any time in the last 5 years, have you had any goats on this property?
Yes, but only for a short while for the purpose of clearing out the weeds and poison ivy in our backyard, which they did very well, in fact.
Okay. And how many goats did you have?
We had 2, but they have since been relocated to a farm.
And how long ago was that?
That was over a year ago.
So the goats haven't been there, but you still have ducks and you still have some chickens there. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the purpose of allowing you to have the chickens there was to give you the opportunity to come before this board to ask for permission. There has been extensive, there's been a number of complaints. If you would, can we pull that picture out a little bit? Show me the people that have signed your petition to allow you to keep. If you look at that screen up there, the house to the right, have they signed? That house there, have they signed your petition?
No, when I went to speak with them, they only spoke Spanish.
Okay. They're renters, is that correct? Okay. Did you contact the owner of that house and ask permission from him or her?
I was not able to reach them.
Do you have signatures from the neighbor next to on the other side?
Yes,
And are they renters or are they owners?
they are owners.
Okay. Ariel, in going through the enforcement, I noticed that you've been cited for for the lack of a better terminology, unsightly backyard. Now, I'm not saying you, you're not the property owner, but I guess it's your mom who has that property.
Yes.
And you have cleaned it up, you have removed the vehicles that need to be removed. I do understand, reading the reports, that you have, you've also removed, a number of pieces of steel has been removed, and other numerous things that have debris that has been in the backyard. Our concern is the chicken ordinance has just been in effect just for a couple of years, and the chicken ordinance was put into effect how people that on smaller pieces of property, less than 2 acres, do have an opportunity. But it's pretty clear in the fact that you've had ducks on this property, you've been cited for that, and now you admitted under oath that you have had goats on the property, and there's still geese on the property.
There is no geese.
Well, no, there's ducks. Is a duck a geese?
No.
You have been listed to have ducks. Did have ducks. They were on the property. So you have, how many ducks do you have now?
Only 3.
3. I think on December of this year, you had 4 ducks. December the 12th, you had 4 ducks.
No, I never.
Well,
had
I'm only reading what
Okay.
the folks have indicated. We're not going to concern ourselves with it's 3 or 4 ducks. I think the point I'm trying to get across is, at this time, I, in good conscience, am not going to be able to allow you to have ducks. I'd like to give you the or chickens. I'd like to give you the opportunity that you can reapply in a year if we haven't had any more code violations. But since you're here and you have made the application, there are 2 things on the application that needs to be taken care of, and that's the rear setback on the property, on the shed, to go from 30 foot to 5 foot. And then there's also a play area back there that needs to go from 10 feet to 3 feet. I'm going to go ahead, and my intent is to go ahead and approve those, and that would help your mother and you if you decide to sell the house. You couldn't sell the house now without those variances. So
Yes.
it hasn't been a waste of time for you to come. You are getting some advantage of it. But my intent at this time would be to deny number 1, to give you an opportunity to eliminate all animals from the property, continue to clean up the property, and likewise, if you feel the opportunity to come back in a year from now, we'd be happy to entertain, to look at that time.
All right.
Before I make a motion, is there any other comments from board members? Not hearing any, I make a motion that we deny application number 1 on V8's application, and to approve number 2, the waiver of the setback from 30 feet to 5 feet, and to approve waiver number 3 on the 221 square foot frame shed building from 10 foot to 3 foot. That would be my motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second? Any comments, questions, or not hearing any? I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, any opposed? Madam Secretary, we're going to approve that vote to deny number 1, but to approve waiver number 2 and number 3 with a 5-0 vote.
Excuse me, Mr. Owen?
Yes.
Should we put a certain time in which she needs to remove the 2 chickens and the 3 ducks?
Okay. I do agree with that, and Ariel, I do think that you have had sufficient time. I'm going to offer you 30 days. I'm going to hold code enforcement off for 30 days to relocate the ducks and to relocate the chickens that are on the property.
All right.
And again, you can come back in a year from now. If you continue to clean the property and keep all the animals off, we'll be happy to look at this in a year from now.
All right.
All right? All right,
Sir,
that's,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, ma'am.
I believe it would be best practice for you to amend the motion to include that and take the will of the board.
Okay, let me follow my lawyer's suggestion that I amend the motion to read that the code enforcement would hold off for 30 days to give the applicant the opportunity to relocate the ducks and the existing chickens on the property. And do I need to revote the whole thing?
You need a second and you need to revote.
Okay, I have a second from Mr. Trombetti. No other comments. I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, any opposed? Carries for approval 5-0. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, John, let's go to our next case.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Variance case V9, Peter Neary requests a variance to waive the maximum impervious surface from required 35% to 39.87%, to waive the side yard setback from required 10 feet to 9 feet adjacent to the northern property line, to waive the setback from a sanitary sewer easement from required 2 feet to 1 foot adjacent to the northern property line, and to waive the setback from a drainage easement from required 10 feet to 1 foot adjacent to the western property line in land lot 458 of the 16th district. The property is located at the northern terminus of Ashmore Hall Drive, north of Davis Road. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V9? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward and be sworn in?
All right, again, for the purpose of the record, if you would, give us your name, please.
Sure, it's Jennifer Lemary.
Jennifer, tell us what you want.
We are requesting a variance to put a residential pool in our backyard. And originally, first of all, I want to say thank you to Mr. Peterson because you took the time out to respond to my email. And I appreciate that because there were some other things that we were not aware of at the time that we submitted the application. So I appreciate in your busy time that you took time out to respond to me. So originally, we thought it was just going to be for impervious surface purposes, but then we found that the builder had submitted a plan in 2006, and so the other setbacks are as a result of what he had done. And so basically, we'd like to do the pool. We have 5 children that range from 7 months to almost 13 years old, and so it would be a huge benefit for me to have that for the entertainment value of the kids in the summertime. Number one. Number two, all of the neighbors are fine with it. They're okay. We've gotten the permission from the neighbors on each side of us. All the neighbors on the one side of our neighborhood have swimming pools, so we're the only ones that don't. It would be consistent with what's being done in the rest of the neighborhood, the values of our homes, et cetera, from that perspective. We actually are going to be using some permeable pavers, as well as some other landscaping, which I actually think would improve the runoff situation in our backyard from that perspective. And the only other thing is we back up to Holly Springs Road, and I don't know how familiar everybody is with that area, but there is extreme traffic noise, and so we would like to incorporate several water features into our pool so it drowns that noise out or eliminates it, so it gives it, it's more pleasant environment in the backyard that would, be more comparable with our neighbors in the neighborhood as well. So that's the high point. So.
All right, anything else you'd like to tell us?
No. The only thing I didn't understand was on the one setback, I think on the west side. I understand the 10-foot off of the pipe, the drainage pipe, but there's an additional 10-foot. I'm a little bit confused about that as far as it looks like it's almost an easement off the easement, and so I'm not clear about why that is. So, but other than that, it's everything else is what I've just said.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to tell us?
Nope.
All right, for the purpose of the record, is anybody else here in opposition to V9? Hearing and not seeing anybody, I'd like to turn it over to Miss Christy Trombetti, who represents this district. Christy?
Okay, thank you. This is a pretty straightforward request, and oftentimes the staff does pick up on additional variances that need to be added to the initial request, so that's pretty common for us to see as well. In looking over the comments from the various departments, there don't appear to be any problems with what's being proposed except for the setback from the sanitary sewer easement.
Okay.
And that may be what you were just referencing. That's request number 3. So we have one, request to waive the maximum impervious surface. And then stormwater management has given us the note that that's really 16 square feet that we're talking about. So that's okay, in my opinion. The second request, waive the side setback from the required 10 feet to 9 feet. Okay, that's, again, kind of straightforward. But number 3 is the request to waive the setback from the sanitary sewer easement from 2 feet to 1 foot. And that's along the, if you're looking at the house from the street, the right side of the house.
Correct.
And then the last request is with regard to the drainage easement that's closer to Holly Springs Road. And again, stormwater management has indicated that they could work with that request as long as there's a hold harmless agreement provided, and they'll work with you on that.
Sure.
So the only one that isn't supported by the department comments and that I don't feel comfortable overriding is the sanitary sewer request, and that's 1 foot.
So is that 1 foot, I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. It's the 1 foot.
Because it's already 10 feet off of the sewer, the pipe, right? And then it's an additional foot beyond that. So this is where I get confused, because I thought the purpose of having the easement was to not build within that space.
Correct.
And so what's the additional requirement?
I may ask Mr. Peterson to help answer that question, because it's 2 feet off of the easement, not
Right.
off of the pipe. So John, can you help us understand that?
Commissioner Trombetti, probably the best person to answer that would be Tim Davidson from our sewer department. That is their requirement
I didn't see
for
you
that
sitting
setback.
Please, yes, that'd be
Oh,
fine.
yeah, that's fine.
He was here and then he wasn't here, so I didn't see you come back in.
Mr. Davidson, tell us all who you are.
I'm Tim Davidson with the Cobb County Water System.
Go right ahead.
To explain the setback, you are correct. There's the 20-foot setback. It's 10 feet to either side of the pipe. But Cobb County Code also includes an additional setback from the easement for permanent structures. In the front and rear of a property, it's 10 feet additional setback. On the side, which is in your case would be 2 feet, meaning it's not an additional easement. It's kind of, I refer to it as kind of a dead zone. We don't want permanent structures right up against the edge of the easement, because we're allowed to dig up to the edge of the easement. It'd be bad for everybody to have your foundation of something right where we're digging. So there's this.
Pool considered a permanent structure?
Yes, the pool and all associated parts of it, the deck, pool equipment, so that has to remain 2 feet from the edge of that easement. Would it be?
So even though you have the other side to be able to access and plus the 10 feet? Do you know what I mean? I guess then this is just me not, obviously you work with this every day and I don't, but so, when I look at this and I see 10 feet on this side, 10 feet on this side, and an additional foot, then,
All I can say is the code requires an additional 2 foot of setback for any permanent structures. And the board knows this, but for your benefit, the variance to that has to come directly from the director of the water system to be able to encroach into that.
Would you consider a whole harmless agreement on that one, Mr. Davidson?
Well, he may, Steve, the director. Basically, there are 3 options in this case. Either put the proposed pool where it is and move the sewer and associated easement to get the 2 feet, move the pool to get the 2 feet, or enter into a hold harmless if the director of the water system is amenable to that. I can't speak for him, but typically
Okay.
if it's a proposed structure, he's less likely to enter into that. It's basically amending the code, not amending the code, but violating the code for something proposed. If it can just be moved a foot, why not do that?
Okay.
I don't know all
Okay,
the details of the pool design.
okay.
well, yeah. So if we moved it the other direction, then it would impose on the drainage easement, I think,
No.
right?
It'd be okay, wouldn't it?
Well,
I think that'd be the first question: is can you just move it an additional foot to
The
comply
pool.
with the 2 foot setback?
I tell you what, Ms. Trombetti's suggestion might be, go ahead and approve this based on a review of the water system and the stormwater management.
Final
They'd have
design.
to give them the final say-so, and then you can all get together and work it out. That might
Let
be,
me-
that might be a good.
Let me ask another question of Ms. Dance. So we've got 4 requests. If we approve all but number 3, which relates to the sanitary sewer easement, would then the applicant just be able to go through the water system and the appropriate channels to get that one taken care of outside of this
I believe she could.
process? Okay, that's what it sounded like to me, according to Mr. Davidson's comments, but I wasn't sure. I wanted to so that's kind of, go ahead, John.
Can I add one thing to this? You know, there's 2 processes involved here. There's a zoning process that incorporates the water system setbacks into our zoning code.
Right.
So it would be best to grant it at this level and let them work it out behind the scenes. If they can't, then it goes back to the 2 feet. But it is in the zoning code that they have to meet those requirements, so
Okay.
it's in both codes.
Okay.
Ki-
So it would have to be subject to water system
Approval.
approval. I think that's what we could do.
Christie, let me interject here a second. How quick do you need to get started on construction on this? And the reason I'm asking, if we put this case on hold for a month, which we have the authority to do,
Ask Mr. Peterson how many emails I sent.
well, that gives you the opportunity to work with all the county folks to really know exactly what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
That might be the best way to handle this.
I mean, we obviously are anxious to get it started as we were ready to start a couple months ago, but we'd like to have it done when the weather's
Well, we got-
warm and, the kids can, when they're out of school, so.
Okay. All right,
And
let's go to
I'm happy to
Christie.
follow up with anybody or whatever I need to do, so.
Let's go back to Ms. Trombetti.
Okay. Thank you. And I appreciate all the discussion because we want to make sure that we handle everything correctly. I think that I'm comfortable going ahead with a vote on this because we've established that the parameters of the request are okay, I think. So what I'd like to do is make a motion that we approve V9 for this proposal only. That would be for the pool construction as presented. And that item number 3 is subject to Cobb County Water System ultimate approval. And then just a note that you understand you're over the impervious now, so
Yes.
try not to come back with fireplace and pool house and all
Right,
these other
right,
things that could add to that. Okay, so
Right.
that would be my motion.
All right, I have a motion, I have a second.
Second it for discussion, but I have a comment. This whole thing just seems weird to me that we're sitting up here and we can make a decision, but then somebody can override us. Another department can override us. So I guess my comfort level would be to deny number 3 and let you work if, in fact, the sewer department, from what Water and Sewer Department, has the authority to grant you some kind of temporary easement or whatever. I'd be more, inclined to let them handle it, us deny it, because I don't think we ought to get that close based on what the comments that we had at our work session. So it seems to me like the other thing too is the pool hadn't been built, so I'm not real sure why you couldn't redesign it to knock off that foot so that you could meet that 2-foot setback.
Well, I mean, we
But
could
it doesn't-
potentially redesign.
Yeah.
We've been
It
trying
doesn't
to
require
work,
an answer.
within
Thank
what
you.
we've got in
Yeah.
the backyard to kind of
But those would be my comments.
Well, I think they're 2 different things. The variance is necessary regardless, but then the water system approving that easement encroachment or the setback is another, I think they're both necessary. So even if we approve this, Steve McCullers or whoever the appropriate person at the water system still has to help them. That's what I understood, Mr. Peterson. But if we deny it, then I think they can't do it at all. So if they go to the water system and the
Can't,
water
yeah.
system says, we can work this out, it's okay, then she'd have to come back here to ask for that one thing from us again, is the way I understand it.
So you have to reapply, and that's 2 months down the road.
Right.
All right, Mr. Davis.
It's my understanding that the setback from the sewer easement is something that the director of the water system can grant, but this board doesn't have that authority. Is that correct? And if that's correct, could you just do a no vote on number 3?
I
If we
prefer
deny-
to
if we
defer
deny-
to Mr. Peterson's advice, and I think he gave us the answer. Maybe
Yeah,
you can
there's
give it
two
again.
codes at work here. You got the
Okay.
water system code, which their director can vary. And then this is also in the zoning code, which y'all have to vary. So my advice to you would be to approve number 3, subject to final approval by the water system director.
Okay.
Because if
'Cause
the
if
water
it's
system
denied here, this
approves
stuff-
it, then we have to see this again
Yeah,
to
'cause what could happen
confirm
is
it.
if y'all deny it, and then his water system approves it, then we can't permit it, because it's not consistent with zoning.
You know, I go back again and ask for a hold to make sure everybody's got enough time to really study this. If you're not, you know, swimming doesn't start till May.
Well, with my kids, it starts in
I-
March.
okay.
On the whole,
Wait a minute, hold on, let's go one at a time. Miss Swanson.
On the hold, I think I would feel more comfortable with the hold. And at that point, you can go and have the conversation with the water department and then come back so that we have an idea of what
Right.
the new redesign of the pool will be. Because I truly feel that it's gonna be a redesign of your pool, where at one little section, you're gonna have to cut off a foot, which isn't too dramatic from a pool. So there's my 2 cents, because I don't feel comfortable with this going back and forth and letting it just hang out there. I think it needs to be settled with the water department of what they'll agree, and then come back in a month, and you can get the pool done before
And
swim
let me
season.
remind all my fellow, I have a motion and a second on the floor, so we're still in the discussion stage, but I do have a motion I have to deal with. Skip, do you have any comments?
I think also that, without trying to make a pun out of it, it's the cleanest approach to just wait a month, get everybody involved to resolve this, and if it means redesigning slightly, then you're done.
Could we say, if I said right now, we'd bring that side in a foot, could we then be done and say it's approved?
Yes.
So,
Because what would happen then is y'all would just reject number 3, and she would pull it in a foot, and then we're done.
and then we would move forward with like the permit and
Yes.
everything else would be fine. Okay, so then let's just, I don't wanna make this bigger than it needs to,
It's,
bigger issue than it needs to be, and I certainly don't wanna have to.
Okay,
So-
we're trying to give you all the options
No, I
here.
appreciate
If you
that. I
want
do
that, we
appreciate
can do that.
that, yeah.
All right, Christie, you want to, I still have a motion on the
it's
floor.
fine, it's fine. I was gonna say, I don't need to see the pool redesigned, as long as we're within the 39.87% that we're talking about.
Yes.
And stormwater, the only issue I had was to make sure that the sanitary sewer rule was dealt with, and I don't need to see that. I don't necessarily think that a 30-day hold for us to look at a potential slightly different site plan is necessary. But if the Lamarys would like to just amend the request, that's okay. But my motion is out there.
And I second it for discussion, and I could support you with your motion, I think, by leaving the final decision, since apparently 2 departments, us and the water system, has a say in it, and having the final approval by the water department. Is that what I'm understanding, Deborah?
I'm confused.
I am confused
Yeah,
too.
but John's not. John clearly stated, if we deny it, that's done, it's gone.
No, I'm confused where we are procedurally
But
currently.
procedurally, we still have a motion, and I have a second.
Okay, but you also had somebody who said that they would withdraw a portion of the request. Did you accept
we
that?
never
or-
No, we
voted
didn't
on it.
accept
We
it.
haven't voted on
Well,
anything yet.
I guess why don't we vote on what Christie and I seconded?
All right,
Would you
Christie,
do that
would you
again?
restate your motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve V9, subject to item number 3 being approved also by the Cobb County Water Department. Appropriate authority, whoever.
And I seconded it.
And a second. And that covers everything, really.
All right.
It's given her everything she
And then
wants.
a vote.
Any other discussion on that motion? Not hearing any, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? 1, 2. 3 to 2 carries. Done.
Okay, so can you explain where that leaves me, just so I'm clear?
Just build your pool.
Okay, so we're okay
You
to
need to
move
move it.
forward as long as, so do I need to still, I don't have to follow up with the water people now?
Yes, you
We
do.
Yes.
Sure.
We still have to do that?
Yeah.
The
Sure.
plans have to be permitted, of course.
Okay,
and
right,
the
so we're at that.
Water
point.
department has to agree to that
I
1
gotcha.
foot.
Okay,
Or you can move that thing
Or you
back.
can move the pool.
I got you, okay. But we're okay to
All right.
continue in the
I
permit.
hope you're okay, young lady. Thank
All right,
you. Let's
thank
go
you,
to our
guys.
next one, 16.
I don't understand
B16.
the ordinance.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Variance
I
case
don't understand the
V16,
ordinance that we have two
Windcrest
for.
Homes Atlanta LLC, request a variance to waive the rear setbacks on proposed lots 3, 4, 5, and 6 from required 35 feet to 20 feet in land lot 377 of the 16th district. The property is located on the southeast corner of Shaw Road and Ebenezer Road. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V16? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
All right, again, for the purpose of the record, if you would, give us your name, please.
My name is Bob Randall.
Tell us.
Mr. Peterson, when you had quoted the setback, as a correction, it's a front yard setback. Do we agree on that? What you have on the record should be a front yard setback.
Yeah, I'm sorry?
Waive the rear setbacks.
Those are technically rear setbacks with the code because the front is always where the road is. So these are on,
Fair enough.
it gets you to the same point. It's just how we
Really don't make any difference.
Probably difficult to see, but the main
Robert,
road
put
of
that,
Ebenezer.
Robert, give that to that gentleman here. He'll put it up on the board and we can all see it.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay.
Just in clarification, I am the owner of the property. I'm a local builder and developer. And if I can point correctly, the main road is up here, Ebenezer Road.
Okay.
I come into the community, and the nickname is, it's a hammerhead, it's a T-shaped, it's a private road, I own it. So I can understand where the terminology would be by the Cobb County standards. Calling Ebenezer the main road would probably confuse me as to what's the front and what's the rear. My request is just to move, now we're calling it the rear setback, from what was 35 feet to 20 feet. On the property, the topo from the center street, from the main street, from the hammerhead, all homes will face inboard. So the homes, 5 of them that could be built, will actually back up to the main road of Ebenezer. By pulling the homes forward, I have severe topo. I want to pull the homes forward. Number 1, it will eliminate sub-foundations. But number 2, it will add 15 more feet of a buffer, more trees that will actually give a buffer between the homes and Ebenezer Road. And number 3 would be, for the ultimate homeowner, I will create more of a level driveway. So the intent is asking for the right to pull the homes forward to eliminate the steep topo. When I stake the houses out, I will take a look at each individual home. I may not have to pull them all forward, but it's the request that I'll have the right to do that when I start those homes, which might be in the spring or in the summertime. That's my request. Any questions?
Okay, sir. Anything else you want to tell us, first of all?
No, sir?
Covered. Okay, for the purpose of the record, is there anybody here wishing to speak in opposition to B16? Hearing and not seeing anybody, it's back to this board. Again, Ms. Trombetti represents the district, so I'm going to turn it over to Christie.
Okay, thank you. What we do in cases like this typically is request an additional setback be added to the opposite side so that you're moving the building area altogether. In this case, the request to waive the rear setbacks from 35 to 20 feet, you're taking 15 feet off. We'd like to, or I would like to suggest that that's perfectly appropriate given your comments about the topography. If we can also add that 15 feet to what we are considering to be the front setback, which is
Ebenezer Road?
Ebenezer Road, yes. So that becomes, is it normally 40 feet? 47, then that would become 55. So you're just moving the building area.
Well, then if I can say, I prefer not to, and I'll tell you why. Along Ebenezer Road in our submitted plan, as a matter of fact, I'm right at submitting for final recordation within 1 or 2 weeks. So the development is not completed and recorded yet. On the landscaping plan, it is asking for trees all along Ebenezer Road, which I like the idea of having greenery. If I put 15 more feet, I'm just pushing it way back into the home sites and not out on Ebenezer or close to Ebenezer, which I think would be more attractive, if that makes sense. Can I point again?
Yeah.
Ebenezer Road is the main road.
Here, I need you on the
You see
microphone.
my restrictions that I already have.
Robert,
Oh,
I need that microphone.
I'm sorry. The main road, Ebenezer Road, on my landscape plan, it's showing trees all along here. I own 800 feet of road frontage. So there are large trees, 4-inch trees, 4-inch caliper that are gonna be required or are on the plan right along here, which I think would be attractive. By taking away 15 feet here, I'm pushing my trees up into here, almost against the natural tree buffer that's already there. It just doesn't feel comfortable to me.
Well, I'm just asking that the building setback be moved, the building line, not, I don't think that would affect your landscape plan at all. It's just the area in which you would be allowed to place
Permanent
the
structures.
footprint of the home, yes. Yes. And that's a pretty standard, you know, whenever we
I
move
understand.
houses up, we increase the back or vice versa.
I understand that a building setback, I would be allowed to put trees into. But with the building setback line, I'm not allowed to put any permanent structures. Hopefully, that's not going to offend the one homeowner who wants to put a pool back there. But I'd have to start to measure things and find out. I'm thinking.
Well, that's what I think, you know, that's how we handle things. I mean, we just had a
understand.
pool variance, so,
You also have the opportunity, if you run into that problem with that one house, you have an opportunity to come back before us. But
It's-
what Christie's recommending is something that's traditionally done. You give and take, and we can take the front, we're gonna give it the back, so.
and it helps us keep a handle on the impervious percentages and.
I understand.
And the other things. So I think that's the best way to handle it, and I just wanted to give you an opportunity to respond to the suggestion before we have a motion.
And that doesn't hinder you to come back before us. If you run into that problem in the future, you have that opportunity to come back here again on an individual basis. All right,
That's a good point, Judy.
Judy, you have to make the comment on the record.
If someone did want to put a pool, it's considered an accessory, and it wouldn't have to be the 40-foot, would it, John? No, so see, it wouldn't have to meet that setback.
Okay?
So
I
that
think
would
that's about all
apply-
somebody could put, given that topo.
Fair enough, and I'm also thinking way out in the future, I always think of myself being the customer. How would I feel with, the word would be restrictions. Would a building setback line bother me? Probably not. An easement, a large easement that came into my property, which could be storm system, sewer, and so forth, would probably bother me, but building line would probably not bother me. I think that would be fine.
Okay.
All right,
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we approve V16 to waive the rear setbacks as requested, while also adding 15 feet to the front setback for each of these lots, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
all right, I've got a motion, I've got a second by Ms. Williams. Any other comment from board members? Clear as mud, we're all set, ready, 1, 2. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries for approval 5-0. Good luck, and I hope don't see you back, but if you do, we're here to help.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, like your attitude. Okay, John, where am I? 18, I believe.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Variance case V18, Jeannie Walton Haygood requests a variance to waive the side setback required 10 feet to 2 feet, adjacent to the eastern property line and land lot 227 of the First District. The property is located on the north side of Willow Point Parkway, west of Lower Rousel Road. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V18? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
Good afternoon.
Name.
Jeannie Walton Haygood.
Speak up a little louder.
Excuse me, got a frog over there. Jeannie Walton Haygood.
Okay, great. Jeannie, tell us what you want, ma'am.
I am requesting a variance to add a garage to the end of my driveway because recently I've had to turn my garage, an attached garage, let me clarify. I've recently had to turn my garage into a handicap accessible suite and have a ramp. And so I've been without a garage since September during this process of making it accessible. So my request is to, with the approval of all my surrounding neighbors, of course, which I have received, and most importantly, my neighbor whose property that is next door that we're requesting the variance from.
So you're going to build a garage because you need...
Attached to the house, yes,
Right,
sir.
and the other garage is used for a handicapped person, is that what you're telling us?
Yeah, the floor has been lifted,
Okay,
and so that you can get into the house, and we have a 3-foot, doorway now and a
Right.
3-foot shower, so that, because I had all of my bathrooms, bathtubs, and all that were upstairs, and this was the only way that we could.
well, variances are based on hardship, so obviously you've given us a little bit of a hardship, we understand that. Anything else you want to tell us, ma'am?
I don't believe so.
All right, is there anybody here wishing to speak in opposition to V18? Hearing and not seeing anybody? Christie, you've done such a good job for the last half hour. Please continue. Ms. Trombetti
Okay.
represents that district. Christie?
Okay. Again, this is a fairly straightforward request, I think, and giving some attention to the neighbor who would be most affected. You can see the way their house is oriented. It's really, this addition won't really be any closer to them
There's no
than
structure
the
will be close
existing
to it at all,
house.
right? Not any of the neighbors.
So that's good. I think also, the fact that the variance is really, if you look at the site plan, it's 2 feet, 8 inches, and then it kind of tapers back away from the property line from there, so
Yes.
it's pretty minor. And with the house being situated the way it is on the lot, it would be difficult to do this without a variance. So I can make a motion, I'd like to make a motion that we approve V18 for this addition only, subject to the plans that were submitted for this variance request.
Got a motion, and I have,
And I'll make a second to that motion.
good, got a motion, a second. Any other comments, questions, suggestions? Mr. Peterson?
May I make one more suggestion for the motion? Can we also make it subject to single-family use only? Because there is going to be a kitchenette in this little thing here, and I just don't want it to turn into an apartment 20 years down the road. Is that
No,
okay?
it's a single-family home.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's a good,
Well, let's put that in there, because that, again, traditionally, we do that in the past. So, Christie, you want to add that in?
yeah, so it's because duplexes aren't allowed in R20.
Oh, no,
so-
it's.
Okay, so, adding to the motion then that it be for single-family use only.
Very good. Second.
And I continue to second that.
Okay, got a motion, got a second. No other comments. Call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's carried for approval, 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
John, what else we have?
That completes your agenda, Mr. Chairman.
All right, just by way of a couple of announcements, if you notice, there's been a little change on this board. I'd like to introduce Miss Christy Trombetti, who's representing District Number 3. And Christy has been on this board, and she's back now with us, and we really appreciate that. And to help facilitate District 1, Mr. Hovey has retired, but Mr. Skip Gunther has taken Mr. Hovey's place. And Skip, we welcome you to the board. With those two comments, I'd also like to make a motion that we approve the special call meetings both on January the 12th and December the 18th, and I need a motion on those.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
And the second? Ms. Swanson, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that carries for approval, 5-0. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the business to come before us for today. We appreciate your attending this, and thank you. We'll see you next month.